Hello everyone, welcome back to Angela's Craft Room. Today I've got this card for you using two different stamp sets. Some of you would notice this image is from the Beautiful You stamp set that I do use quite a lot, and then this is one of the new stamps from the Occasions catalogue for 2018 from Stampin' Up. So that's the stamp set there. It's a beautiful stamp set. So we're going to use this image here. You do get a little image here, the flowers, and there's a little flower, a bird, a branch, and then you get 1, 2, 3 sentiments. So you get 8 stamps in there. So that's called Friendship's Sweetest Thoughts, and it's a really nice stamp set. So I thought we'd do incorporate the two stamp sets together, and I'll show you how I stamped that, and then we're just going to hopefully quickly colour in the image as well with our stamping blends. So this one in the background, I've sponged the background, so I've done that prior to the video just to save some time. I will put the link below this tutorial on how I use the Stampin' Up sponge brayer and the Stampin' Up ink pads to create such a smooth, lovely sponged background. I do use watercolor paper for that, and I use Bristol Smooth. Okay, so we'll get started. So to start off with, I've just used a piece of smoky slate. So that just measures 11 inches long, 4 1/8 wide, and scored at 5.5. And then I've gone ahead and put a piece inside, and I've just stamped, you can just see it, that little, I've done it in soft sky, that's why it's so light, just that little stamp set that I showed you on that stamp set, and it's just like a little bench with little pots of flowers on it. So that's our base, and then I've got a piece of soft sky which measures 5 1/4 by 3 7/8, which I'll glue that straight on. So I will just pop that straight on. Just as straight as we can. And we'll just set that aside for a little minute. Then I've got a piece of shimmery white, and it measures 5 inches by 3 3/4, and as you can see, I've gone ahead and sponged that prior to the video because otherwise the video would be just too long, but I will put the link below on how I do that. And the colors I've used here are Soft Sky, Pink Pirouette, and Pear Pizzazz, and I've just popped a sentiment up there, thinking of you. Now if you have a look at this background sponge, they're exactly the same colors, but the reason that this is more vibrant and that's a lot more lighter is because I re-inked my ink pads, and I did this one before I re-inked it, and there was hardly any soft sky coming out, so that is why the difference. But they're my favorite go-to 3 colors when I'm sponging my backgrounds. I just really love that color. So that's our sponge background ready to go. We'll just put our glue back and we'll bring in my Misty. Now I'm going to have the Misty lid coming up like this, so you're not going to be missing anything. I'm only going to be having the stamp on the lid and bringing it down, so hopefully you'll be able to see most of it. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to put that there in the bottom left hand corner, secure it with a magnet, and I'm going to take, first off I'm going to take the stamp set or the stamp of the cart. So this one here I'm doing first. I'm just going to pop that there, and then I'm going to grab the girl as well from the Beautiful You stamp set. For those that haven't seen it, it does come in 2 CD cases, and it's in the current annual catalogue 2017 to 2018, and I'll never get rid of it because I just use it all the time. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to be using this lady. Okay. Now I'm going to try and get her as close to the apple cart as I can. Because we want it to look like that she's actually looking in at those flowers. And then I'll just grab my Memento little cube ink pad, and I'm just going to, all I'm doing is inking them up, just so you don't think you're missing out on anything. Nothing worse than seeing me do something off camera and you don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just inking that up, and hopefully I've got it nice and straight. Now I've noticed that just a little bit of ink has gone on the edge of that stamp, so we're just going to take that off because we don't want it transferring onto our card. So that looks pretty straight. I actually might just grab this scrap piece of paper and use it. The ones that have seen me stamp before are used to me doing this. Just want to make sure, and that's fairly straight. I'll just ink that quickly up again. I'm just always worried that even though I've got a grid lines to go by on my Misty, it just depends how straight the stamp has been created. You can't always go by the grid lines. I know I've been asked the question before, isn't that what the grid lines are for? But it just depends on the stamp. Just take that little bit off there. Good thing about the Misty, we can always add it, ink it up again and bring it back down. which I think I'll do. The lady's fairly well inked up, but just this. Yes, so the background is just done by the sponge, using the Stampin' Up sponge brayer, and it's just such an easy technique, and it's just, you just keep adding the colour, and it just depends on what you like, how deep a colour you like. But if you're doing sky and grass, I would recommend that you use lighter colours, because you don't want the background to take away from the image that is on the background, if that makes sense. So we'll just stamp that down again, mainly for the flower card. And I do believe Stampin' Up are bringing out their own stamp positioning tool, which I have pre-ordered, so I'm hoping to get it really soon. I think I might just about need a new Memento ink pad by the looks of it. So just doing the flower card, just wanted that to be a little bit darker, and that's perfect. So I find it easier to stamp the two images together, and then it's you've got the lady as close as possible to that flower cut as you can. Now I'll just grab my grid paper, pop it on there. Now we're going to paper pierce the lady. Now for those of you that, I must do a tutorial on it, but for those of you that don't know how to do it, what we do is we just get any piece of DSP, and you would stamp the lady onto the DSP, and then what you do is you cut her dress out, and you simply cut her hat out, and then we're going to stick those now onto, instead of colouring the lady, we're going to glue those onto the lady. So it's a really quick way to colour, and it's a great way to use up your any DSP. So don't ever throw your any scraps out, because you can see how little of a piece I need just for her dress. So it's just a matter of lining it up, getting my finger off. And that's her dress on. And how quick and easy is that? So the fiddly bit is this little hat. I need to get her hat on. And that's the lady done. See how quick and easy that is? And it's just another way of colouring. So now we're going to colour with the stamping blends. So I'm going to start off with the flowers, and we're going to use the light Night of Navy. Now normally I would use these and blend, but because there's such a small flower, we're just doing little strokes. It's a bit fiddly on the flowers because I'm using a dark colour. I don't want to go outside the lines. So I absolutely love these stamping blends. They're so easy to use. One tip is though, when you're not using them, and in between using them, just make sure that the caps on both ends are tightly closed, because if they're not, the ink will dry out. So we're just doing the last one, and then we'll do the leaves. And because I'm using shimmery white cardstock from Stampin' Up, you don't really need to even add Winker Stella, because the glitter, you wouldn't be able to see on the video, but the glitter is shining through. I can see as I'm colouring. So you can notice I close that off straight away, and then we're just going to get the light Old Olive, so we can just do the leaves, and you just have to have a very light touch with when the image you're colouring is tiny as these are. These are very tiny. I like to use the brush end because I'm just doing strokes. I'm not colouring it. I'm just doing very quick strokes. You can use the nib end. There's a brush end and a nib end, but if you're careful and you're just using the point of the brush end when you're colouring really small images like these leaves, you won't have any trouble. So just one more leaf to go. So there's the flowers and the leaves, and then we're just going to do the bird on the top. in Ivory. And it's such a tiny little bird. I'm still using the brush end, but I'm just hardly touching the image. If you want it a bit darker, just go over it a couple of times, because really you're not going to be blending these colours when the images are so small. Stick that down. Just thinking what colour I might just do the heart in the same colour as we did the flowers. Like that. Then we're going to use crumb cake. Now I'm going to do it in light first. So I'm just going to go in between these leaves and just lay down a light colour. And you can see I'm doing like a flick motion just to lay this light colour down. And just turn it round so I can do this end. Just being careful not to go outside the lines. And that's just the foot of the apple cart. Then I'm just leaving that open for a minute because I'm getting my darker one. And I'm just going to put a little bit of a shadow. So I'm just going to draw a line across there. Then grab my light one. Now you don't go over the whole dark colour, otherwise you're just going to be losing your shade. You just want to go to the very bottom of the dark colour that you've laid down, and you're just blending it out until you can't see a line. That's all you want to do. So we'll just do another line. So I like to do quite a thick line so that I can see quite clearly where the bottom of it is, so I can just blend that out. Just need to blend that out a bit more. But you can see how easy they are to use. And if you've still got some of the Stampin' Up blendabilities, you can use, I've got a few and I use them as with these as well. So because they were an alcohol marker, you can use them as well. So I've just done a little bit between the flowers. and I'm just going between the leaves, sorry, and I'm just going to blend that out a little bit. And you can see how easy it blends and how quickly. So then we're going to do the top the same. So I'll do this part first. So I'm just laying down the light colour, and I'll show you the difference before I blend this. Because I've used the same colour, you'll be able to see the difference when you actually do a little bit of blending. I'm just doing a very quick demo on the blending today, just to give you an idea. I'm just trying not to go outside those lines. Just don't be heavy-handed with them, especially when they're new, because they're very juicy. So if you have a look at that, you can really tell the difference that I've blended this to that just being a flat colour. So we'll just, how I'm going to blend this is I'm going to just do a line on the curved part, and then I'm just going to blend that out. Just doing it on the curve. Doesn't really matter what size, what side you do it. I just wanted to add a little bit of interest rather than just have the flat colour. And that's where the blending technique really makes a difference. Blend that out a little bit more. You want to just keep blending until you can't see a line. So this time I'm just going to the end. So you can see why I did the background off camera, because it would have been quite a long video otherwise. So you just want to keep blending that so that you get rid of the line. And then I'll just do a dark line down there. Just blend it out. So that's how quick and easy that is. We must close the caps when you're not using them. Now I'm just going to put a little bit of yellow, Daffodil Delight, down in between where we've used the brown. So I'm just laying the light colour. Now you could add a bit of blending to that as well if you want, but I won't do it today. And then I'm just going to get the darker yellow and just do that little frill that's along here. So I'm just concentrating because I don't want to go outside those lines. So that's the darker yellow, but because we've done the background sponging first, putting that light daffodil delight down makes it look a completely different colour. So there we go. So that's how quick and easy that is. And even you could just get a little bit of old olive and just go on those grass lines. Underneath. There'd be no need to do any blending here because you're just adding a bit of colour to the grass. And we just want to put the cap back on. So that's that. Oh, sorry, that's that there finished. So then we'll just grab the base, and all we've got to do is just glue that onto our card base. So I've used the blends on watercolour paper, I've used them on shimmery white, I've used them on whisper white, and I haven't had a problem at all. So we're just going to stick that final piece down. I do like the darker colours in the background since I've inked up my ink pads. I got so used to it being so pale, I thought this looked a bit too vibrant, but I think it's just that I didn't have my ink pads inked up. I let them go quite dry. And then you could just add a couple of the rhinestone jewels. Now you'll see there's 3 dots going down there, but you'll only fit 2 rhinestones. I think it's just the smallest of the rhinestones I use. I really love this stamp set too. It's just, they've brought out some beautiful stamp sets in the new occasions catalogue. So there we go. So I'll just show you, that was the original. Let's go out a little bit. So that was the original one that I did with the Marina Mist as my base card, and this is the one that we've just done today with the Smoky Slate. So I do like this background a lot better, but yeah, so you can see I use different DSP on this lady to this one. So it just depends on what DSP you've got, but it's a really easy technique, is stamping and then cutting her dress out, and I will do that in a tutorial for you, just a little quick tutorial so you know how to do that paper piecing. So I hope you've enjoyed that tutorial today, and I thank you for sticking by me and subscribing to my channel. I am publishing 2 tutorials every week, so please subscribe if you haven't, and until next time, happy crafting!